I come from a place where even till recently, one of the noted thinkers in arts said that that AI is not meant to do your work. It's supposed to do the menial tasks while you create art and make mistakes. So yeah, necessary evil or Teflon-coated savior, whatever it is, I think by the end of it, we should have at least an inkling on at least a few perspectives. I think what we can start with is your opening remarks about what you think innovation and the future are going to be like. Suja, would you like to start?
Yeah, just picture this, right? Like yesterday I took the flight in. In the morning I got a call from home saying that, there was a plumbing leak. So, I said, I'm not there. Someone had to come in and fix it. I called my driver. So of course, WhatsApp, all of that. He comes in and I said, fixes it. And then he says, how can I pay? No worries, ma'am, I'm going to pay it with UPI, I have GPay, right? You think about that. Sure. So we are talking about a country where almost, we are not talking about millions, we are talking about billions almost, right? 1.2 billion people are mobile subscribers, 700 million plus and growing are smartphone users, right? We have also people on GPay and UPI, and all of us do that. In a matter of seconds, we do these transactions, right? We're looking at almost around 260 or so million account holders on UPI. Merchants are 30 million. So the numbers, when we speak about, things like this here in India, we're talking about huge populations, sizes of countries even, right? So that's the number. So when we look at that, alongside the infrastructure needs to change too. So I'm someone who came from the automotive industry and now going into a banking industry very shortly. When you talk about UPI and the number of transactions that are happening, a bank like SBI, for instance, does 10 crores of transaction plus, 10 plus million crores of, millions or crores of transactions daily. To keep that going, you need to have a very strong core, which is what the banks are being transformed. So any industry that you look at, transformation is happening. And why I say again India is because India is where India is put its, it's really going in the right, path, because they have taken technology as the enabler for all of this.
Coming to the topic, we all talked about the fourth industrial revolution, which is the AI one. Yes, we are at the cusp of it as a global society. But there is another side to our world, which is, the past industrial revolutions of the last 200 years have surely created a lot of wealth here and brought comfort to a lot of people, no doubt, but not all. We have to remember that. And the second point is that that same economic activity has also unleashed what we are seeing, major environmental impacts, whether it's climate change in terms of, droughts or storms that we could not have thought of, or also eco-toxicity that we see around us. So what we are now realizing, we are actually at an inflection point. We have realized that what we thought, that the world's resources are unlimited or its sinks are unlimited, they actually are not. And where I'm going from here is that we need now, this brings us to a change in the way of our thinking on innovation. What we've always thought of is linear activities, linear models. Now we've got to start thinking about circular models. And this is where I feel that, the future of innovation, AI and digital is going to play a big part of it. But, we still need physical infrastructure. We still need physical activities that are going to help us. But when we design, when we innovate, we have to now start thinking slightly different, or rather, we need to have a paradigm shift, in fact, in our thinking. And for that matter, it's from nature that we learn about it. It's nature that we know we have to preserve for our own health and well-being. And we can see from the natural cycles that everything is circular. If you see in nature, what is happening there? Whatever is waste, or not waste, it's not called waste in nature, it's end of life. So whatever is end of life goes back into enriching it. So whether it's, leaves falling, dead leaves, or even droppings of animals, they enrich the soil of the world. And that's how it's meant to be. We've lived a particular way, we've thought of in a particular way that let's exploit, now we've reached the end of that way of thinking. Now we have to design, we have to innovate, thinking about taking out waste from our systems. Or if there is something that's left over, it's not always possible to take out waste. It could be very expensive to do that. But then it's not a waste that's there at the end. It is a resource. And we have to bring it back into our systems, into our economic activities, and not push them into our rivers, into our soils. And yes, that's what I've studied, and that's what I'm helping corporates to look into, accounting for their sustainability performance. So that's what I'll have to say about the future of innovation.
But to shift focus back to healthcare, the recurring theme through the day really has been that paradigm shift in healthcare is already happening, and it's a stakeholder initiative which is finally going to drive for outcomes. Let's remember we are talking about lives here, and let's remember that there will always be push and pulls. The dreamers will continue to dream, and thank God for that, because they are the ones who are going to push the boundaries of what is possible. The innovators, trust me, there's plenty of innovation happening on the healthcare innovation happening at the grassroots level. There's no doubt. There's no doubt of excitement. People are extremely excited about healthcare innovation for perhaps two reasons. Reason number one, the level of complexities that go into this area, it offers tremendous challenges and opportunities to people who really truly want to innovate. And second, whether we articulate it that way or not, there's always a lofty idea. There's always a higher principle and the higher purpose of doing something which is going to save lives, which is going to drive wellness. That really keeps the spirit of innovation going. What is needed really is to bring synchrony and harmonization into ways in which each member of the stakeholder universe really are going to work with each other. And I can already see very positive signs of that truly happening.
We thought we were living in a world of listicles. Everyone wants 1, 2, 3 and the fancy pointings, etc. So since we can't point, maybe we can talk about points that that the future of, say, the banking business or the technology business that you've been part of, what it holds. If you'd like to give us 1, 2, 3 examples, or you'd like to tabulate what you think the future is going to be as far as technology is concerned.
When I talk about technology, and this is a listicle which I think is the use of technology, especially going cloud, right? We talked about, I know that you said physical infrastructure is important, but it causes a lot of damage to the environment. Technology sector, ICT, right? In fact, nobody talks about it much, but one of the biggest consumers of electricity, right? So you look, the more data centers we are going to be building, and with more transactions, mobile transactions, internet transactions, million subscribers, fantastic, but it's going to have an impact on the power consumption. It's going to have an impact on a lot of other things that are going to affect, our quality of life, right? So these are things that are going to be taken into consideration. And so in the next 5 years, 85% or more of organizations, irrespective of sector, be it banking, automotive, retail, you name it, healthcare, they are going to be approaching a very cloud-first strategy. Right? So that means, lesser dependency on physical and building all of that, right? That is one. We already said AI is the future. We are already, using, some of you may be already checking out ChatGPT. We are having conversations. We are thinking it's making it easier to do our, essays and things like that. But we have to also look at it in a way, and again, this is a sustainability angle that is coming in there, or an ESG angle, if you were to call it, because it has to look at how are we, kind of moderating that whole future of AI. So it depends on who is giving that content to GPT, right? These generative AI models, in the sense that, is it biased? Now that is an important consideration. As we go forward, if it's going to be a biased model where women, perhaps, and there have been many cases in point where it has been shown that Amazon, for one instance, had this entire recruitment platform that they had created, which they figured out finally that they were actually pulling out profiles based on the color of your skin as well as the gender. Now, these things are things that are going to impact us, impact the future.
And with respect to going to the future, or what I would first specify is that actually we need to come back full circle. We need to come back to our past roots, our Indian culture, where nature has a sanctity to it. So I would say that's the first thing. And the second thing I already talked about, which was about a circular way of thinking. This also comes from our own culture. For those of you, my generation, the older generation, we have actually seen it in our own houses. We have seen our parents not throw things away, but see how to keep reusing them. So I would say that we need to be proud of that, and we need to go back to it. What I can say that we do need to learn, perhaps imbibe more as a society, is the scientific method, which we need to instill more in our educational institutions, of observing things very carefully, recording them, creating hypotheses, and again experimenting, and then finally innovating. So if I talk about what, a few examples where I see innovation, then, well, it's right on top of us. It's right on top of our head. I would say for those of us living in Delhi and for youngsters who are in the space, why is it that our farmers have to continue burning the rice stubble that they grow, at the end of it? We need to come out. It is our problem. We need to come out with a solution that it can be economically used, so that they don't need to burn it. And it's not just about technology. It's also about organizing things. It's also about managing things based on our local conditions and ethos. So we need innovation in that space as well. Giving a couple of other examples, and this is a common one now being talked about all over the world. How do we take out the carbon dioxide, which is there, let's say, I don't know how many more times than it was there before, and storing it. So it's called carbon capture and storage. This is a technology that's being talked about all over the world, but it has not reached commercial scale so far. It will, of course, really be a part of the solution of decarbonization around the world.
Earlier in our discussion, I said that the ability to bring safe drugs to market more efficiently and effectively, start saving lives, I think that's very critical. It's not just a noble initiative, I think it's a critical initiative. Traditionally, it has taken a decade, or if not more than that, and traditionally it's taken billions to really get a drug moiety out of laboratory and into the hands of the patient who deserve it. Now, clearly, innovation has been happening. People are looking at ways to really reinterpret the entire process by which the clinical design happens, the drug development takes place, plenty of them. For example, the way you do your patient recruitment, the way you accelerate your study start, the way you are able to accelerate its completion, the ability to really galvanize the way in which you are taking the content coming out of the trials and pushing it towards the submission and approval pathways of regulators. That entire process is up for reinterpretation. And this reinterpretation is not even futuristic. It's already happening. I'll give you one example of it. One of the key reasons why our clinical trials tend to take the time that they do and the complexity that really comes in is because of patient recruitment. The ability to recruit the right set of subjects and patients. And in the traditional manner, we all know how it happens. You go to sites, then you identify patients, and everything is time consuming, everything is laborious, everything is complex and complicated. Digital recruitment, digital patient recruitment suddenly opens up a plethora of possibilities, because now you can use the digital formats in order to reach out to vaster swaths of population, target population, based on the demographics that you're looking for, based on the geographies that you're looking for, based on the targets that you're looking for, and you suddenly have access to a larger set of subjects than you really had before. And that's just one example. So this is one example how people are looking at bringing innovation, technology, data, digital, all of that really together to change a paradigm which has been 40, 50, 60 years in existence. That's one example. The other thing that I wanted to touch was, I made a point earlier about revving up the healthcare ecosystem so that you're able to get large sections, or if not large, if not the entire population, able to access healthcare, access safe medication, and access it with quality and access it at affordability. I think those are things that we are really gunning for. So here, for example, one of the aspects that we have not so much touched upon, and once again I touched that topic with responsibility, is personalization. For example, e-commerce has taught us how to shop differently. OTTs have taught us how to get entertained differently. So are there similar parallels that can come in the context of healthcare, where as a patient or as someone who is caring for the patient, we are able to get very different patient experiences and very different patient journeys than what we have been used to in the past?